Hey, so this is going to be a follow-up to the ditching people-pleasing video I did a couple nights ago. I want to go in deeper on both vantage points of the person leaving people-pleasing and starting to speak up for themselves, set boundaries, versus maybe their loved ones that are in resistance, unwillingness, and they're clashing. Also, what I'm going to share tonight, if this were a course that I was teaching, which I am creating one for this subject for a group setting, let's say the course is 3 months long, I wouldn't share this, what I'm going to share tonight, until at least halfway through. However, I know that a lot of people are coming out of people pleasing on their own, and I don't want to withhold this information. It is such a game changer. Okay, so the whole purpose of setting a boundary is to create harmony, not separation. We would never set a boundary with a person we hope to not see in our future. It's only for the people that we are asking if they could love us in a way that we feel is safe and healthy. That would mean so much to us. So I think of a boundary as a wrapped present. You put so much thought into it. You're so vulnerable. You're trying to be so brave. You hope that they like it. You hope that they accept it as, oh, thank you for letting me know this so I can love you better. I do want to be in your future. That's the lens that you're looking through. So let's just put a pin in that intention. It's so important to have an intention as a North Star, because when people get triggered, we forget what we're doing here. So similarly, if I was pitching a business idea to different companies, I would check in after each meeting and ask myself, like, what was working, what wasn't, what do I need to shift and tweak? So I think of it in a similar way. When I finally was brave enough to start speaking up, setting boundaries, they're really like pitches, invitations to ask my loved ones if they want to be in my future. I feel like in the last video, I really honed in on the experience of the person leaving people pleasing. And I think it resonated with people. They reached out to me like, you know what? No, I don't deserve what I've been dealing with. And that is the initiator. Feeling that anger that we have been brainwashed into thinking, especially females, if you're feeling anger, you're just an angry person. So we try to avoid that. But allowing ourselves to feel that anger is the biggest thing that is going to make the change, because we would brush off the anger, go into guilt instead, and do things we didn't want to do. So allowing that anger, wait, what? No, it's so important. Punch pillows, scream, whatever you need to do, cry, but create intentionally a safe space for it to be happening, and then to know that you can pull yourself out of it. It doesn't have to just linger on for days, but it is so beneficial to really bring it out. If you're feeling like, no, that's crazy, expand on that. I think all of us have come to different points in our life where we realize we're being taken advantage of, taken for granted, whatever it is, and feeling that anger is going to bring into view the things that you really need to look at. But now let's look at from the other person's perspective. It is so important when we remember what the intention was. It's to come together. So if I have never set a boundary with a certain friend, and they're not even in the realization that I continue to be brushed off and that it hurts me, it's just how it's always gone. And they also don't really know all the growth that's taking place within us. So picture from their point of view. So they're suddenly being approached with what we believe is a gift. They used to be able to knock this gift away really quickly. And now we're making it known, like, I have a gift for you. You can't brush me off. This is important to me. And so for the first time, they're not able to brush off this thing to bring themselves into that dark cave of comfort and safety. They're now feeling shame, because the whole point of why people get into defensiveness is because they don't want to be feeling those feelings and self-reflecting. They're taking it as not just asking for a behavior to be changed, but they're taking it as criticism to their entire being, their character, their essence. And of course it's not true, but this is their real experience. And remember that our whole goal is to invite them into willingness so we can have a conversation on the same plane. But we just push them with that boundary further into unwillingness and shame. This is where normally the ex-people pleaser who's being so brave, when we are not received in this moment and we built ourselves up, we were so brave, this is when we get really frustrated, and understandably so. But if we can later on come to a place where we are acknowledging that this person was already avoiding feeling shame, and now we're bringing that shame to the surface and they're feeling it. And how hard it must be for a person to go from that to what we're looking for into willingness. It's so unlikely. Sometimes when you start setting boundaries, you won't see any visible backlash or resistance. This is actually the most consistent thing that I have seen, besides people that I set a boundary with and I've never seen again. The people that clearly wanted to stay in my life, I would notice that then when we would start hanging out, there was so much shrunken contraction, and I could feel that they were trying not to mess up, trying not to create any conflict and tension. So it went from me in the past being made to be responsible for myself and this other person, whoever it is, because they were in distorted energy, defensiveness, brushing things off. And I didn't want that in my life. And then now when the person is ashamed and goes into wounded energy, then I would experience that I'm now being made to be responsible to make this person feel approved of. No, it's never going to work. So I then realized, and this is the biggest thing that has changed 3 of my relationships to be better than they've ever been. So while the person that is bravely leaving people pleasing, while it is so important to feel that anger and to feel that these are my standards and they're not fucking budget, like, yes, it is helpful. But then if we come into that and we are not budging, look who we have become now. Them. The person who wouldn't listen to anything we had to say and was brushing us off all these years. And now they are in that wounded energy. This is never going to work. It's 2 sides of the same coin. I'm really looking for the person to come into willingness so we can communicate together and collaborate, have an awesome, healthy connection. But we can't force that. So while they're in this energy, I'm never going to get that goal met. And when I'm starting to speak my new standards out in different spaces, I'm sure that they're hearing this and thinking, I don't know if I can meet that. I always get defensive. What if I mess up? Then I have to lose this person. So then fear of abandonment, rejection is now on top of the shame. And we're over here in resentment because they're not meeting us where we're really hoping that they can, but it's not going to happen. So what helped me so much is that I spoke with each of these 3 individuals that I had set a boundary with over a year ago and saw them going into contraction. It was so uncomfortable for me. Even before I would walk into their front door, I could feel that. And I'm like, oh God, I want to go home. I don't want to be made responsible. At the end of the day, all that they were doing was using me as a mirror. And once the mirror walked in, they were able to see their own self. I'm like, guys, so that's, how cool is that though? They're not worried about me judging and criticizing them because I don't care. Like, I accept you as you are. I just want to be treated with respect. They were only the whole time afraid of witnessing their own self, reflecting on their own self. And so I decided to do something. I didn't even know that this would work, but it's been the biggest game changer so far. Instead of holding so firm to those standards that I'm creating, which I am firm about, I don't want people to try to get me to go back on them. However, if it's someone that I really want in my life and they are in willingness to try, I don't want to, like, say you have a husband that every time you have an argument, he gets in his car and goes and stays at a hotel. That's what he does every time. And you have said, if this keeps happening, I have to leave the relationship, no matter how awesome it is outside of this act. I don't know where you go. I get anxious. It's too much on my nervous system, my health. And I need this to be the standard, my boundary. And so then say the next week they have a disagreement and he gets in his car, starts it, and then he realizes no. And he comes back inside. And so this is like the wiggle room I'm talking about. She could be like, nope, I said if you left that house, you got in that car, you're out of here. Having that kind of pressure, it's a likely fail, So if she sees her husband making the effort, he didn't drive off, he came back inside, just spent the night in the TV room, they were separate, everything's all set. Her acknowledging, I see you trying, and him, that is his acknowledgement of, I see your boundaries and they matter now. I know that this is the deciding point, whether or not I get to stay, but to have that leeway of a little bit of wiggle room, I'm sure for him, he doesn't feel so much pressure that he is going to mess up. Why not just sabotage it anyway? So for me, the most common issue that I have had with friends, even my mom, is that when there's triggering, then there's meanness and projection towards me. And so I had made a boundary, like, if this happens, I won't have any of these people in my life. And I could see that it was so much pressure for them on top of their shame and fear of being abandoned and rejected. I decided to change the way that the boundary was so it could benefit both of us and I could still be met and they would have no pressure. I said, I can feel that you are shrinking and holding back, and it feels like someone's looking in the window. I'm like, should we duck? Who is it? The energy is so unsettling and I don't want you to feel that way. I don't want to be around it. So while my boundary is that I don't want to see you projecting on me, how about this? How about I personally am open enough and able to feel my feelings deep enough that I can be grounded. So if you are triggered and you do feel the need in the moment to project onto me, scream at me, whatever, I want you to show up as your fullest self. The whole point is that then after you just hold accountability and acknowledge it. That's really all it is about. And after I said that, 3 of my relationships have changed to be better than they ever have been. And now we get to laugh together about when suddenly they're triggered and I don't even expect it. It's out of nowhere. And they are looking at me like, what did you say? and I know what's happening. I don't get offended. But then later on, we get to laugh about it together. I told one of these friends, taking a walk, so it's not when there's any tension. It was a beautiful day about a year ago. And I said, I just want to let you know that sometimes I'll look over and you're glaring at me like you want to punch me in the face. But for me, I've just said something in the energy of, hey, is it drizzling outside? Do you think I should bring a coat? And I don't know what is suddenly triggering in them, but I'll look over and they're looking at me like, did you say drizzling? And when I told her this, we just laughed so hard because it was after the talk of, hey, I accept every part of you. Don't shrink for a second, please. I'm going to put back on the table that the floor is open for you to trigger, to do anything, within reason, but then to just hold accountability for it. And that has allowed, oh my God, the most beautiful things to happen. And it really is, it's so amazing. But I will, of course, we have to acknowledge what a hard space it is to be for the person leaving people pleasing. They set the boundary. They were so brave. They spent all this time wanting to do it. They finally did it. They weren't met with what they were hoping for. And of course we go into like, then forget them, whatever. So to come from that place to, I'm going to hold a safe space. I want to invite you in. What an ego death that is. It's a big, it is a lot. But that's why I didn't want to talk about this last time on the video, because it is so important to go through that stage of, this is unacceptable. This is not okay. I don't want to bypass that and force someone to rush to, but now they're feeling bad. That was what made us people please all that time. We don't want to bypass the anger, the self-respect that we deserve, but then to come to, hey, this person never wanted to hurt me. That's why they're in my life. I know that they just trigger and do these things. I do want to set a very intentional standard of what I expect in my life, and I wouldn't leave this wiggle room open for everyone. But with my mom, with this friend, yeah, and the whole point is they're willing, they're trying. I wouldn't say that to someone who I set a boundary with, never heard back from them. I wouldn't be open to creating a safe space. At that point, then I've gone way too far into empathy and I'm self-abandoning again. That's just people pleasing again. No, it's when someone is clearly in desire to be in your life and that they've realized that they were hurting you, which they never wanted to do. And now they want to be able to stay, but they just don't want that pressure of, what if I fail? What if I mess up? That's where how many of us have just sabotaged right then? It's the easiest way to go. So if you start speaking your boundaries and you're receiving, oh, thank you, I didn't even realize I was doing that. I appreciate you telling me so I can do right by you. Awesome. If you're speaking your boundaries and you're getting met with just complete rejection or playing victim, whatever, and then that's all it is, all set, no, not taking it personally, but I see with where you're at. You did not accept my gift. Okay. And the third would be this person who is deep in their shame because of what's been illuminated and they weren't ready for it. Feelings are coming up. They're having to look at things that they were refusing to do in the past. This can really help. If there's both respect and willingness, this is like the sweet spot of healing between two people. It has been really beautiful because when I just wanted to be heard or witnessed, validated, not just thrown away, now is when it's finally able to happen with people like this. And I can tell you that with my mom, she could validate this. Something that was able to help with us is that when I would try to tell her something in the past, she would quickly be like, I don't know, people don't do that. I don't know. And I said to her, instead of you saying that, let's start putting in, it's not a priority to me. Just that sentence. So I don't know, people don't talk like that. I don't deal with this with any of my friends. Instead say, how I make you feel is just not a priority to me. Because in reality, in willingness, that is what we're hearing back from them. Like when you get ghosted, you're hearing you're not a priority, but the ghoster, it's not what they're trying to project. So it's really cool. So when my mom would go into defensiveness in the last maybe 6 months and say something, and I would say, no, remember, you're telling me right now how I make you feel is not a priority. She's like, oh my God, it changed almost overnight. Guys, I can't believe that's when I realized I have been enabling her for years. It's crazy. We think that we think that they don't know, and we do. You know, when we're triggered and we're projecting on people, we don't know in the moment because we're riding that wave of illusion. But at the end of the day, we do know what we're doing. So it was really cool to see that work so well for my mom. And now we have the best relationship. I feel safer with her than most people. I can't believe it. And really, oh my God. Before we go, I want to share this funny thing that I sent my mom last night, which never would have resonated with her 2 years ago. So it's really cool that it can now. But for just a little back detail, so as I said that I consider a boundary a gift. I imagine myself like carrying a gift to someone's house. And because I'm in willingness and accountability, bringing this gift to share my truth, when I do, and when the other person is in the specific frequency of unwillingness, defensiveness, any human dropping into it is going to start saying the same sentences. It's so cool because accountability is here and you're asking them to join you in accountability. But when they go into defensiveness, they are like, they're hurling accountability onto your shoulders. So then the words that they start talking cannot have any relation to the context of the gift, of what is in the present. All they can talk about is your delivery of the gift, or as I call it, my rap job. And the sentences sound like, well, I don't know about that. People don't do that. I don't deal with this with any one of my friends. So they're trying to just get you to feel guilty for the way you wrapped the gift. So I'm hearing it as, you didn't even do any of the curly cues on this bow. You know, not in real time. I'm actually holding real space. But when I'm going home, I'm laughing in the car because it's happened again, talking shit about my rapping skills. However, if they're calling attention to the way I'm delivering this gift, for me to simply brush it off because I know that this is consistently happening would be a loss. Because what if I am doing something out of integrity? So something that I have noticed that is not working is when I'm showing up in the same energy that I can't stand, when people are on eggshells and playing victim when they don't have to be. Of course, it is more understandable that I would be when I've been blown off by the same person over and over. However, it is beneficial to check in. I noticed I was coming with that same energy with a couple of people, with like, hey, can we talk about something? And right away they're like, get out of here. Like, what the heck is this? So I can understand looking through their eyes. I don't like that either. I don't appreciate that myself. I'd rather someone come into willingness. So I can see where I fell off a couple times with different people, and it would be more beneficial if I had said, hey, I really need to talk to you about something important. This is important to me. Not starting with, a friend did say that it's not helpful when I start off with like, hey, there's something that you do that I can't have. I'm like trying to get a boundary out, but they're feeling attacked right off the bat. So I appreciate the feedback. I want to be in willingness too, not just be met with it. So I can say that that has been beneficial. So I don't want to be starting with, hey, there's something you're doing, and I don't want to be coming in on eggshells because I'm afraid of being yelled at. So just being very direct and talking about it to start as an issue I'm having, so that the person is more likely to come into willingness and listen. So last night I was doing one of the New York Times mini crossword puzzles, and I had to send this to my mom. It said 4 across, gift wrappers need. And then I saw the 2 blanks and I messaged her, it's either tape or hope. And she got a kick out of it. And I'm like, how cool is that? That if I had said that to her in the past, she'd be like, okay, Taylor, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say to you. But now she's, of course, like, oh yeah, because people actually wrapping gifts need tape. And the one bravely going with the boundary gift, you better believe they need hope. I was like, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. Too much. Yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome night. I'm going to keep posting these kind of videos, and feel free to share with anyone that you think that any of this could help. And yeah, I'll be on the next video talking about the male people pleaser of our society, Mr. Nice Guy. We all know him. Oh man, it is similar to the people pleasing female, but there are some major differences. And of course, coming from people pleasing as a female, I have so much compassion for this energy. But yeah, I'm excited for that, and I hope you have a good night. Thanks for watching. Bye.